welcome to another episode of Asexualise, my asexual life. This is the place to be for education about asexuality, all things asexual, and I share my own asexual life journey in order to help you in yours. If you haven't already subscribed, hit that great big subscribe button right here, right now. Please hit that bell icon so I go live like now or post a new video. So, welcome to day 6 of Asexual Perspectives Awareness Month. Now, in the UK, we're already in day 7, and I am a bit late on the show today because I had stuff I had to do for deadlines. So I'm here, and I'm going to treat this as day 6. Obviously, if you're in another country outside the UK, if you're in the USA, for example, it's still day 6 where you are. So, without further ado, I'm going to crack on with the show. And today's show is all about, do asexuals desire to be in a relationship? Because there's a lot of stereotypes, a lot of stigmas, a lot of confusion, especially by the general world population as to what can asexuals love, can asexuals be in a relationship, do they want a relationship, all this type of thing, right? And, you know, it's good to bust through those myths and stereotypes. That's why I created my Asexual Perspectives book, which I'm going to be reading through at the moment for Asexual Perspectives Awareness Month, because I basically created it so we can celebrate our diversity across the asexual spectrum and our differences within it. And, you know, we can bust through those myths, bust through those stereotypes, and actually find out what it's really like to live an asexual life when you're asexual in a highly sexualized world. So, this is Asexual Perspectives. This book can be got from Amazon, Barnes & Noble, or Waterstones if you haven't already got your copy, and then you can read along with me. So, like I said, today we're going to be discussing about, do asexuals want relationships? And we're going to be taking some different asexual perspectives. My window is open and trains do go by my home. So just to let you know, but I'm absolutely so hot in here at the moment that I'm not taking off all my clothes like the actual song says, you know, it's getting hot in here, so take off all my clothes. Yes, take off all your clothes, they usually say. I'm not doing that because I'm asexual. I'm not interested. Anyway, right, so on with today's video. Silgy, right, okay. If you are not in a relationship, would you like to be in one? And if so, why and what type? Romantic, platonic, what would your ideal relationship look like? And would you be in a relationship with a sexual person or not? And the reason why. This is page 51 if you have got the printed edition. Right. So, this is Silgy's story. So, I want to say yes. Some people confuse me and they are so needy and complicated, and I'd have to share with them. If I was ever contemplating a relationship, I might try romantic, but I'm not sure. They'd have to be vegan, spiritual, not religious, and I feel bad being in a relationship with a sexual person because in my mind they have these expectations even though they know I'm ace. And they only stick around because of obligation. I see now that I'm a very particular person. So, yeah, let's discuss this, right? You know, I personally would find it very difficult to be in a relationship with a sexual person. And I would hope that if a sexual person did want to be in a relationship with me, they're not going to stick around just out of obligation, right? They're going to be with me because they love me for my mind, my soul, my personality, and the deep emotional connection they have with me. You know, I find it harder personally to get that deep emotional connection with a sexual guy. I find it much easier and better to do that with an asexual guy. But I still haven't met the right asexual guy for me to be in a relationship with yet, right? And so for me, I do understand, though, what this person is saying, that sexuals do have kind of a lot of expectations about how they want the relationship to be, i.e. have sex in it. And when I was in a sexual relationship or in sexual relationships in the past, there's this type of like situation where it's always very sex driven, right? I mean, you can spend time together, but there's always like this type of thing, shall we have sex now? Shall we take our clothes off now? You know, kind of like whenever you meet up with them, it's kind of like that's kind of like the thing, bodies naked and kissing. I love the kissing and sex. And, you know, it's kind of like very sexually driven. Like when you have time with sexuals, it's kind of, I found that it's kind of like always, there's always a sexual element to it. And I find that quite disturbing if you're asexual. and you don't want that type of relationship because it's always constant, you know, there's never really any break from it, and it's like the sexual energy they give off, and it's kind of like always that way. In a way it's good because, you know, they're being their true authentic self, you can feel what they're actually like. But if you're an asexual who's not into sex repulsed, it's not really going to work out. So it's better, you know, like, it's really better for us to find an asexual partner. However, there are some rare circumstances where it can work out. You know, there's a person in my book and they are with a sexual person, and the sexual person doesn't mind not having sex, because at the end of the day, people should be with someone because they value their worth, they value that person, they love that person implicitly, they love their personality, they care about that human being, they want that person in their life, they want to spend time with them, and they value them, right? And they know that that person's so unique and they want to spend time with that particular person. That's how it should be like, right? And there might be some sexuals that do actually, you know, value asexuals, and when sexuals do get into relationships with asexuals, because it does happen, usually it's because they love and adore that specific person more than the sex itself, and they'd rather be with that specific person rather than, you know, be with multiple people or have a sexual relationship with someone else, because it would be no good. So I really want that person, that particular person, and if they come without sex, they do, right? So it can work, but it's just a lot harder, I think, right? So, Adelaide's story, right? If you're not in a relationship, would you like to be? If so, how would that look for you? I would like more of a life partner, says Adelaide. Someone to do things with and raise a family with, but I don't need more. I would not be against being in a relationship with an allosexual person or an alloromantic person, but there would have to be some compromises being made, both on my side and theirs. So yeah, this is kind of like, you know, very, very interesting, isn't it? So another person thinks they could be, you know, thinks they could be with a allosexual, someone who's sexual basically, or alloromantic person, right? Someone who's romantic like me, but not me, obviously. I'm into guys, right? So, you know, it's very interesting that some people are willing to compromise. Now, personally, in the issue of compromise, I think you should only compromise if you can still be yourself. Because I found in the past that in sexual relationships, I compromised myself so much that I didn't recognize who I was anymore. I compromised my personality, I compromised my values, I compromised my life, really. I wasn't happy in relationships with sexuals. I actually been more happy being single, to be honest, than I've ever been in my life in terms of being in a relationship or not in a relationship. And that's possibly due to the fact I've been in relationships with the wrong guys, right? And I wasn't living my true authentic life or being myself, you know? And I personally like living separately because I just find that more comfortable. I like to be who I'm born to be. I like to live my own life. And so for me, you know, it's kind of important to have my independence. But yeah, I don't like the word compromise in the sense that I just think, you know, when you start compromising, sometimes you can lose part of yourself. Well, that's what I found in the past anyway, right? But with my friends, you know, I do have to compromise in certain instances. You know, we sometimes we have, some of my friends have different personalities. And so, you know, you have to accommodate each other, and maybe you like different interests. So you kind of like would come together on mutual interests and then do your own interests separately. And, you know, like where you go, you would have to compromise on like something that's good for you, both of you, maybe in different ways. But sometimes you might do more of what they want, and sometimes they might do more of what you want. So I do guess I compromise with my friends, and I've had friendships for years, really good friends. So I guess I'm not against compromising per se. I just think that in the past, when I was in a relationship, I wasn't happy. You know, I'm happier now, living my own life, my own way, doing my own thing. And, you know, I kind of like love my single life. and my teenager lifestyle. You know, like, I don't want to be in a relationship with a guy expects me to be this old person. It's like, because it's really not who I am. It's just like, I don't want to be that person. And I find sometimes in a relationship I can start getting older because I'm not really like being free to be me. So yes, it's very interesting. So we're going on to Zoe now. Would Zoe like to be in a relationship if they're not? And what would that look like? What would your ideal relationship look like? And would they be sexual person you'd be in a relationship with or not? So Zoe said, I would like to be in a relationship, even though I've been solo for years and like my own company, I do get quite lonely sometimes. My ideal partner would be my best friend, confident, companion, love of my life, soulmate, and absolutely asexual. Never again will I have a relationship with a sexual. Never again will I be in a situation when I'm coerced to have sex in order to keep a relationship. Like me, my partner will want and need the same type of affection as I do. See my answer to question 3. So, in terms of question 3, they said that in terms of affection, they're an asexual who doesn't like or want sex, but who needs human affection. Hugs, an arm around their waist, holding hands, cuddling. As for kissing, a kiss on the cheek and the lips is okay, but I don't need French kissing, unlike me. So Zoe says, like me, my partner will want and need the same type of that affection. My ideal partner will also be an introvert like me. This is important because I need someone who understands when and why I need a break from peopling. My last relationship was with an extrovert and we had many arguments about me being antisocial. My ideal partner will also be understanding about my mental health issues and will know to give me time and space when I'm in one of my down cycles in my bipolar depression. And I will gladly return the favour if needed. So yeah, on the subject of mental health, right, it's very important that you get a partner who loves and understands you for who you are and who is happy to accommodate your mental health needs, right? Like for me personally, I'm the opposite of this person, Zoe, right? So I have anxiety disorder, generalized anxiety disorder. I have anxious personality style, anxious attachment style. And so therefore, in terms of mental health, I would need someone who's the opposite, who's someone who would be highly communicative with me daily basis throughout the day, someone who would be understanding of my anxiety, someone who'd be reassuring me, someone who'd let me know if there are plans for the day, someone who would ideally plan to do stuff in advance with me so I'm not anxious about when things are going to happen. So, you know, it's very, mental health is something that's very important in relationships, you know, and in order to have a healthy, loving, happy relationship, you've both got to understand each other's mental health needs because you've got to take care of the other's health as well as your own, right? Sometimes it can be difficult if you've both got, like, for example, severe depression, because one can make the other depressed more. Sometimes if you've got severe anxiety, one can make the other person a bit more anxious, you know. So you have to have friends as well that are different. You know, you have to see other people, not just the person you're with, but you also have to understand the other person's mental health difficulties. You know, you have to love them for who they are. Mental health problems a lot of the time are just like generalized anxiety disorder I have is actually a disability. I didn't really realize that till about a year ago. And so just like any disability, you need to love a person and care for a person for who they are. If you take on a relationship knowing, thank you for the thumbs up, lots of love to you. If you take on a relationship knowing what they're like, then you have to obviously accommodate that. Or, you know, I mean, if you don't, then, you know, you are free to leave a relationship. No one can stay in a relationship with someone. But what you mustn't do is try and force that person to feel bad about their mental health or try and manipulate them. So if, for example, you do have anxiety and you're worried about getting into a relationship, you need to be very aware that some people who are narcissistic or abusers or, you know, can use your mental health difficulties against you. So you don't want to end up in with a relationship with a type of person who, for example, would purposely avoid messaging you for a whole day, knowing you have anxiety, right? If you have anxiety, you need a lot of communication throughout the day. You need to know what's going on in that person's life. And, I think it's nice. Personally, I just find that nice. I find that if you love someone, you'd want to know what's going on in their day. You'd want to be with them, even if it's virtually, even if you're not with them. Because if you're living together, you'd know what's going on in their day, right? You'd know really when they get up, because you'd be living with them. You'd know really when their lunch break is. You'd know really what's going on in the evening when they're having their mates over. Thanks for the thumbs up. Lots of love. Whether they are, whether they are out with their friends, you kind of know what's going on if you lived with them. So if you're having a relationship where you don't live together, you'd want that same type of knowledge, right? You'd want that same type of care and respect and love. You want that same type of closeness, right? Intimacy. Intimacy is about not just sex that some people want, but intimacy is about a deep emotional connection, and it's about keeping that person informed and included in your life, right? Because you love them and care about them, not because you're obliged to do it, but because you want to do it, right? You want to be excited about what's happening with your day. You want to inform the other person, right? So if you've got a person who does have anxiety, I need the opposite to this person. Zoe needs time out because she's introverted, and if she's in a bipolar depression, she needs space, right? Which is fine if you're another introvert that needs your own space as well. And and I have introverted friends that do go, I need, and they have mental health issues, and it's I need my own space. I'm going off for a while, this type of thing, right? But if you've got an anxious personality like mine and you have anxiety, right, if you get into a relationship with someone, you need someone to be able to look after you in terms of that as well, to be able to be highly communicative with you and let you know what's going on in their life, tell you about changes that are going to happen before they happen, ideally, and who will book time in to speak to you and see you, and who will always kind of let you know what's going on in their life. This is the type of thing, because you need that anxiety to be kept as low as possible, because the last thing you want to do is get into a relationship with someone, they make your anxiety worse. And look out for a sign. If anyone's using your anxiety or other mental health condition against you, get out of that relationship, right? So for example, some guys who are manipulative, they will purposely withhold messaging you for a day. And if it's if you've got a lot of people with anxiety conditions and attachment styles, they have abandonment issues, childhood abandonment issues. They have rejection issues from their past. And you could say, oh, right, that person should deal with them. But maybe that person has tried to get counselling. Maybe they've tried to get help. But at the same time, you need to understand where they're at in their life. You need to meet them where they're at, not try and change them. You need to love them for who they are when you meet them, right? You can't manipulate them and say, you should do this, you should do that, right? You need to make sure you're not invalidating their feelings. You need to make sure you're supporting them. You need to make sure that you understand where they're coming from, right? They don't need a person putting them down and basically making them feel bad about themselves, right? They feel bad enough usually if they've got anxiety. They don't need anyone else to make it worse, right? So you need to be able to understand that an anxious personality type probably wouldn't go with an avoidant personality type, someone who, if difficulties get problematic, they withdraw and don't communicate. That's the opposite of what an anxious personality type would like, because if that person withdraws, it feels like they're being abandoned and rejected, and that's their worst fear usually. So you don't want someone who, like I said, who's purposely withdrawing and they're not speaking to an anxiety induced person, person with anxious personality type. They're not speaking to them for a day or 2 days. It's not on, because that's just going to create more anxiety in them, a feeling of stress, a feeling of worry, a feeling of panic, and it's just going to be really hurting them, So bear in mind, when you get into a relationship with someone, if they have got mental health difficulties, you need to make sure you understand them, mental health difficulties, how it affects them, how it's going to affect a relationship. You should be asking all these questions though. How does your anxiety affect you? How does it affect you in a relationship? What would you need from me in order to help you have less of that problem, or in order to understand that problem, in order to help you with that issue or help you with that difficulty, or in order just to love you for who you are more. How can I do that more for you? You know, how can I serve you? How can I help you? Right? I mean, there are people with severe disabilities, people who are in wheelchairs, right? And people still love them for who they are. They don't start saying, oh, right, you shouldn't be in a wheelchair, or, you know, I'm just gonna wheel you down wheel you down the road and not even bother holding on to you and just let you go. Do you know what I mean? That's you know what I'm saying? Don't get into a relationship with someone who's gonna actually treat your disability with disrespect and who's not gonna be kind and caring to you. You don't need that type of person in your life, right? You need the opposite type of person. Someone who loves you for who you are and thinks, my God, this person's got this disability, they're incredible, they're strong, they're still in life, they've survived and they thrive in spite of their disability, in spite of their mental health condition, right? Someone who respects that, who sees the value in you and who sees your true worth in spite of that, right? Some people have got multiple issues going on, right? I mean, I've got fibromyalgia, you know, I've got GAD. It's like, whoop, whoop. These are really unseen disabilities, right? Because looking at me, there doesn't really look like there's much wrong with me, right? Which is cool. But, you know, and I make the best out of what is happening, you know. I believe everything happens for a reason. But, you know, people don't only understand what it's like on a daily basis. I don't go around telling people what fibromyalgia is like. I do manage it well. But if I think about it in detail, about how much pain I'm in, how I get affected by things on a daily basis, if I really analyse, which I've been doing a lot recently because I've been filling in forms and stuff to do with my disability, then it's like really, really crazy stuff, right? It's like, oh my God, this is really bad. But I try not to focus on that. I usually focus on the positive, right? Because I don't focus on that. What we focus on expands. But if people knew what I had to go through on a daily basis, like, even what standing up to wash up really hurts me. It gives me a lot of pain, right? That's why I don't do much washing up. I don't do much cleaning, you know, because it hurts. And so I don't want to be in pain. I want to have fun with my life as much as possible, right? And so, you know, everything affects it. Like, emotions affect your fibromyalgia. Like, that's why, you know, if you have anxiety, you've got fibro, you need to keep your anxiety at bay to a very, very minimum, because otherwise, if you don't, your fibromyalgia pain will just exacerbate and get worse. And so then the physical component becomes crippling. So the mental and physical, I've got both stuff going on, issues going on, if you like, both disabilities, and they directly impact, one directly impacts the other, right? The mental directly impacts the physical, right? So, you know, because I live on my own and when I'm single, it's a lot easier for me. I have relationship anxiety because for me, I only have to worry about myself. I only have to take care of myself. When I'm with another person in a relationship, I kind of care about them, and I'm always worried and thinking about them and thinking, are they okay? What are they thinking? You know, how can I be a better partner to them? You know, like, what's going on? And, you know, it's kind of like, it's like one thing worrying about yourself, it's another thing worrying about everything else. But when you have generalized anxiety disorder, you know, I haven't really talked about it in the past much on this channel, but I think it's important because a lot of asexuals have anxiety. Generalized anxiety disorder means you're constantly worried and thinking about things and analysing things, and, you know, it never ends. It always goes on and on. But there is an upside to that. Anxiety, for me, is like a superpower also. So it can be very debilitating, but it can also be like an acute superpower, because I have the ability to see things that other people can't see. I have the ability in dangerous situations to be able to step up to the plate and deal with the issue that other people couldn't deal with. If I have pain, I can use adrenaline anxiety adrenaline to actually not give me as much pain. It like numbs the pain. I can jump into situations very quickly and think on my feet, or even in accidents. It's really saved my life because it's helped me to have less injuries. So for me personally, anxiety has been a huge benefit in my life. Even though if you go to therapy for anxiety, which I've had counselling for anxiety, right? And you have to do the pros of anxiety and the cons of anxiety. And the cons of anxiety should always work out to more than the pros, right? And, you know, if you want to say the correct thing to the counsellor just for the sake of saying it, you're like, oh yeah, of course, anxiety's, there's more cons to anxiety than there is pros. I'll get rid of my anxiety, but it doesn't actually work like that in practice for me, because I know for a fact that my anxiety has helped me throughout a lot of my life. And so therefore I want to hold on to anxiety. I don't want it to completely go, because it's all I've ever known since a kid as well. All I've ever known throughout my life. It's kind of a part of who I am. But anxiety for me makes it so I've had less injuries when I've been in accidents. I've been able to deal with pain more effectively for me, because I've been able to have the anxiety adrenaline. I can see things that other people can't see. So with anxiety, they're supposed to say your fears, doubts and worries don't come true, but for me they're usually spot on. And there is a theory that you create that reality, you manifest that, you make it happen because of your anxiety, because you behave and think and act a certain way. So it's hard to know whether you do that and it comes up with the situation that you think it's going to, or you don't. But in theory, really, if your anxiety is completely rubbish, then it shouldn't be coming true anyway, because you shouldn't be able to make it come true, because it should be a load of your fears and insecurities and worries should be completely non-existent, right? So it's very, very interesting. And, also like writing, I think it makes me a better writer, having anxiety, because it makes me be able to get on other people's minds, because I'm totally always analysing things. And I think, it makes me acutely aware of other people. And it makes me, I analyse so much, but sometimes when you're doing personal professional development work and you're analysing all the time, it can be like self-reflecting, and it can actually help develop and grow you into a better person. Also with anxiety, another benefit is you've got to push constantly through your fears and worries to get anywhere in life. So it makes you really, really strong person. This is a side of anxiety that people don't talk about. Counsellors and psychotherapists and psychiatrists, they don't want you to see the happy side of anxiety, or I don't know if the happy side is right, or the superpower side of anxiety. But anxiety can literally be a superpower. Maybe I should write a book on this one day and shock the world, right? It's like, oh my God, you can't encourage people to be anxious, but people who've already got anxiety, right? We don't need to feel bad about ourselves. There are ways we can use it to our advantage, right? And that's kind of like what you should do in life. You should always use what you know and what you are to your advantage rather than your disadvantage. There's no point in sitting being miserable about who you are. It's better to use what you have and what you are. So for me with anxiety, I always have to push through my fears constantly. I'm always working thinking, God, what can I do next? It's going to anxiety induce me, but what can I do next? What can I make myself do? What else can I do? And I'm constantly pushing through my fears and boundaries. And because of that, I can be a stronger person. I can do things that a person without anxiety wouldn't want to do because they'd be too scared to do it. So really, anxiety can be used as a catalyst for major change of actually being better in your life and for actually becoming a stronger person. Now, I bet you didn't even think of that. I bet you thought people who have got anxiety are weak, but actually we're one of the strongest people that I know, right? Because we're always having to cope and deal with ourselves as well as the outside world, which is a lot. And we're always having to push through our fears and boundaries, and we're always having to take ourselves to the next level, unless we just sit like a cabbage, right? Or just sit at home doing nothing. But for us that want to progress in our life, for us that we've got big things we want to do, we've got to push through these fears. And we've got to live and go as fearless as we can in spite of our worries and insecurities and stuff. Right, for me, I have fears, I have insecurities, I have, fears and worries mostly and stuff. But every day I have to live with that, and every day I have to push through it. Right? And this is what makes me a stronger person. It doesn't make me a stronger person just sat down doing nothing, not actually living with anxiety and just blocking it out. That's not how you deal with life. How you deal with life is actually learning how to manage your disabilities better. Thank you for the thumbs up. Lots of love to you. I used to work for the recovery learning community in the UK. Now, if you didn't know what the recovery learning community is, a recovery learning community is basically a part of the NHS. And as I was a peer trainer there, so I was someone with lived experience of depression, anxiety, and I was a trainer, I was a teacher. I got teacher qualification in case you didn't already know that. and an information advice and guidance diploma, so I can advise people, right? So yeah, if you didn't already know that, then the recovery learning community was different to the normal mental health places, because we used to not try to take the person's mental health problem away from them. We used to encourage them to manage it more effectively. So instead of where traditional psychiatrists, psychologists and everything go on the thing, hello Ahmed, lots of love to you, where traditional psychologists, psychiatrists and people like that actually they work on the assumption that the person's broken, that they need fixing, that there's a major problem with them, that they need to take away that mental health problem. When I worked for the recovery learning community, it was all about the fact that we used to empower people to live with their mental health condition and better manage it. So it wasn't about getting rid of their mental health problem. It was about encouraging them to manage it more effectively and to live a more effective, happier life. So it's very important. Eric, I'm still at work, so I could only pop in for a moment, but wanted to say I enjoy your channel and would check out this stream later. Oh, lots of love, Eric. Lots of love to you. How beautiful is that? Thank you, Eric. Wow, I don't know if I've talked to Eric before, but thank you for saying you enjoy my channel. It's lovely. Nice to have you here. I've had some lovely comments lately. I've been getting like a woman on Facebook messaged me a couple of times to say she loved this channel. I had a guy that I haven't replied to yet by email who said he loved the stream. So I've been so busy that I haven't had a chance to reply to Facebook Messenger messages even today. That's why I was late on this show, because I had to get stuff done. I'm on deadlines for the next week. I have tight deadlines that can't be moved. So yeah, I apologise if the show times are a bit up and down at the moment, but I'm doing it anyway, right? We're here live and lovely, right? So what I was saying is, with mental health conditions, if you do get into a relationship with someone who's got a mental health problem, you need to be able to understand them. You need to be able to ask them, how does it affect them? What do they need from you in order to be able to help manage it in the relationship? How can you comfort and support them and love them for who they are? And do not be in a relationship where the person is using your disability against you, or it's like, oh, you've got this, so I'm purposely treating you like this. Like I said, the prime one about manipulation, for example, is when someone will use your disability against you. They'll say something like, oh, well, it's because of your depression we're in this state. Or they'll say something like, if it's an anxiety person, be like, oh, I'm not going to, they purposely don't speak to you for a day, knowing that's going to anxiety induce you, right? Because in some dating coaches, they teach, oh, don't contact that person, they'll miss you more, right? But for an anxiety, in the real world, in a functional, proper relationship, not this playing mind games rubbish where you have to do a certain action psychologically to get the result you want. In other words, you have to withdraw from the person in order for them to miss you more. This is what a lot of dating coaches teach. This is mind manipulation. This is game playing, right? Game playing. It goes back to flaming caveman days, a lot of this psychology as well. And it's just repetitive bullshit that's fed out of a lot of dating coaches' mouths, right? If I get a guy that just fits into that, I'm like, fine, just get out of my life. I'm not interested in playing flaming games, right? Do you know what I mean? It's like, you either like me and want to be in a relationship with me and love me and treat me with respect, kind, caringness, and appreciate me always and not take me for granted, or you can just get out of my life because I'm sick of it. I don't like playing these stupid games. I know a lot of psychology, so I know what, and it's horrible when you see a guy who's behaving like out of a psychology textbook and you're thinking, well, I should be doing this, that and the other now because I know I could keep this guy or get him more interested in me or keep him more interested in me, but I ain't playing those games, right? If he is a psychological textbook, I don't want to know. And that might sound really weird because, well, I'm not playing by the rules, but I just I'd rather be single than deal with all that stuff, right? For me, if you're in a relationship, it's your job to help keep the person happy in the relationship as much as possible while looking after yourself, while maintaining your own life, your own friends, and your own independence as well. But you have to understand, when you're in a relationship, you're no longer a single unit. You are a team, right? And you need to behave like a team, and you need to respect each other and love each other and develop and grow together as people, as well as individuals. You need to have a plan of how you're going to grow together. How's that relationship going to work in the future? How are you going to be together? How are you going to make it successful? And you need to work on that plan, right? you know, and not taking it for granted. That one of the things that people do when they get into relationships, like, oh, I've got the person now. I've got the person now, so I don't need to do any work to keep them. I don't need to make them happy anymore. I don't need to contact them as much. I don't need to do this, that, and the other. You're absolutely wrong. If you want a happy, successful, healthy, loving relationship, you need to maintain and sustain your level all the time of love and care and attention that you did in the beginning. Not falsify it in the beginning and think, oh, this is so great, and then you taper off. Because that's just the person who's not really being their true authentic self. They're just telling you what you want to hear, and they're just playing stupid games. Right, I'm not being bothered with that. I'd rather stay single forever than get guys like this, because there's a bunch of them out there and I get sick of them, to be quite honest with you. It's like, you know, I ain't got time for that rubbish, right? So be very careful and very aware. If you've got a mental health condition, you need someone who will support you and love you for who you are and will maintain and sustain a happy, healthy, loving relationship, right? You shouldn't get into a relationship with anyone who's not going to value your worth as much as you do and is not going to make you as happy as you make yourself. They should make you happy as you make yourself, or happier. Anything less than that, and they are making you miserable and they are taking something away from you. Unless I find a guy that can make me always as happy as I make myself, or happier. When I say always, you're not going to be, not everything's going to be hunky-dory every single day of every week of every month of every year. But in general, I need to find a guy who makes me as happy as I make myself, loves me as much as I love myself, or more, not taking anything away from it. If I have a guy that's making me feel down, anxious all the time, nervous, and who's not loving me effectively and who I'm chasing, it's no good. I'm not interested. I'd rather stay single forever, live a happier life, serve more people, live my purpose, live my dreams, be on my own, than have all that rubbish. You know, you do not want to be getting into in relationship with any person who makes you feel less than you are. Right, because you deserve a damn good relationship. You deserve someone to love you for who you are. And if another person is not high enough quality to maintain that standard, that says more about them than it says about you. You have standards, right? And if they drop their standards and they stop loving you the way you need to be loved, right, that is on them. It's not on you. Just walk away, because it's not frigging worth it. Ahmed, these streams are totally a source of good vibes. Thank you, Ahmed. Lots of love to you. You know? So, you know, you have to understand that people have different standards in life, different expectations, right? And a guy, I'm saying guys because I'm only interested in guys, but can work with women as well, or any gender, right? A guy will not be able to maintain his standards after a while if he's not really got those standards to begin with. Right, any guy who's really into personal and professional development, for example, will want to better himself. He will want to have a woman who has high standards and high expectations. He'll want to actually reach those, because it'll be like a goal. He'll want to take care of her. He'll want to think, oh my God, I need to change. I need to develop and grow myself into a stronger guy for this woman. He will step up to the frigging plate, because if you've got a high value woman and someone who has high standards and high expectations, and he's got to come up to meet it, what does it say about him if he can meet them? It says, wow, I'm a high value guy who's like, you know, excelling at what I'm doing in a relationship, right? But if you've got a guy where you've got high standards and high expectations and he can't meet them in the end, that says more about him. It says, right, you're not actually so valuable as you made out. Are you? You're not actually so high standard as you make out, you know? If you can't live that life, you don't want to better yourself, you don't want to develop and grow yourself into the man you need to be, then that says a lot about him. So if a woman's got high standards and high expectations and high values and morals, and a guy comes up to that level, it says, you know, to the guy, it makes him feel good. If he's a good guy who wants to develop and grow himself, right, and wants to become a better person, right? If you've got a guy that just thinks he knows it all, who thinks he's perfect, who doesn't want to change, doesn't want to grow, who doesn't see his faults, who doesn't think he's done anything wrong in a relationship, who never sees the problems he's got, who's in denial, who shuts things out, who's emotionally unavailable, for example, if commitment issues, whatever it friggin' well is, right? He needs to sort his shit out before you get into a relationship or ever get into a relationship with him, and leave him be, right? It's not your problem at the end of the day, right? You need to love you for who you are and find the right person for you, or stay single forever. Because if you've got high standards and expectations, you do not drop them for someone, right? Because you'll be having less of what you deserve. right? You deserve an awesome person for you. Ahmed, Pusheen looks grumpy behind you. Oh, Pusheen's just lovely. So anyway, going back to the serious topic, right? So I'm being serious, right? So, you know, what I'm trying to say is a guy who's a quality guy, not a guy who just sits at home doing nothing, watching TV, playing video games all day. I'm saying a quality guy, a guy who's into personal professional development, who's into getting courses, going to seminars, doing online courses, even if they're free. A guy who's into developing, growing himself into a better quality person, right, is going to be better to be in a relationship with. Because when a guy is growing and developing himself, he'll want to develop and grow in the relationship with you. If he's into having a relationship, if he's not got commitment or emotional unavailable issues, right? You know, you need to get a guy who wants to also grow emotionally with you, who wants to feel empowered by a woman. God, this woman understands me. I can open up emotionally to the woman. I feel comfortable and confident with her. I've not been able to feel this way with anyone before. It's all been kind of superficial stuff, right? So you need to find this person, Ahmed. It is important to have an experience to succeed in every relationship you make, or it is important to have an experience to succeed in every relationship you make, or it doesn't matter. Yeah, I mean, it's important to also understand that everyone needs to develop and grow themselves constantly. Like, I'm doing a neuro-linguistic practitioner's NLP course, right? That is to help myself, and I'll be able to coach asexuals better as well, you know. And you know, if I've got issues that's going on, I will always try and improve myself, right? Know that I'm not perfect, that there's things that come across maybe not exactly how I want them to come across, or, you know, things might not happen the way I want them to happen. And, you know, I need to do something about it, right? It's just like, take action, get it sorted, right? Very important. So we're going to move on now in the book to L's story. So this is page 259 if you've got the printed copy. So basically with this topic, we're talking about, you know, if you're not in a relationship, if asexuals are not in a relationship, would they like to get in one? And if so, what would that look like? Would it be romantic, platonic? What would it be? Sexual person, asexual? So L said they would like to be in a romantic relationship. Again, although I'm no hurry. My ideal relationship would look like a normal relationship with all of its ups and downs, just without the sex. I would be in a relationship with another sexual person because they were in a relationship with a sexual person before, provided they either do not have sex with me or we can come to some sort of compromise. So they have been in love once before with a guy who accepted their asexuality. So yes, this is very interesting, right? Because this is quite, you know, this here is very realistic, you know, like you are going to have ups and downs in a relationship. It's not going to be perfect smoothing all the time. It just, like, a relationship like that, it just doesn't exist, right? You're going to have some ups and downs. So you've got to understand that getting into a relationship is a commitment. It is something that you need to be working on constantly. It's like another full-time job on top of all the other work you've got to do. But it's all about developing and growing together as people and taking responsibility for our own actions or lack of them. Ahmed, because acting or, let's say, deal with girls spontaneously may spoil the relationship sometimes. I'm not exactly sure what you mean, Ahmed. But I'm not exactly sure what you mean. But it's probably because of the English kind of like discrepancy. But yeah, so, you know, it's important to, if you get into a relationship, to want it to succeed and work on it so it should, basically. So, right, we're going on to Callie's story. Ahmed said, talking about the importance of the experience. I'm not sure if you mean talking about the importance of experience being in the relationship or being out of the relationship. Anyway, Callie's story. This is page 275. Right, so if you're not in a relationship, would you like to be with one? Be with one, be in one. Right. So, Callie, I would like to be in a relationship in the future, though I do not see it as particularly likely. Thanks for the thumbs up. Lots of love to you. Ideally, that relationship would be a romantic one, but I would also be happy to in a dedicated queer platonic relationship. My ideal relationship would be one where we would live together, laugh together, talk about our lives and the world, cuddle together, etc. I don't think I could be in a relationship with a sexual person because I'm extremely repulsed even by the idea of myself engaging in sexual intercourse. If I did end up in a relationship with a sexual person, it would have to be an open relationship so they could have their sexual needs met elsewhere. Now, this is very interesting. So this person, Callie, is open to a sexual person being in a relationship with them and getting their sexual needs met elsewhere. Personally, for me, I'm fiercely monogamous. I would not accept a guy having sex with other women while he was in a relationship with me. That would not be a satisfying relationship for me. That would not be acceptable because I want a guy who's dedicated to me as I am to him in every single way, right? And I want equal love and I want, faithfulness. Not, I see that as cheating and I would never ever want that in my life, right? So I think it's very important before you get into a relationship to actually understand exactly what you want, what you don't want in it, what you're willing to accept, what you're willing to compromise on, what you actually, think about things like intimacy and, all that type of thing. So it's very, very important, right? And so, so what's a queer platonic relationship? You might have heard of that phrase, QPR. So a queer platonic relationship is often something that's associated with aromantic asexuals, right? Those that lack romantic attraction or lack sexual attraction. And it's basically is like a deep, so it's a relationship that's more than a friendship to them. So for a lot of aromantics, they really value their friends and they have kind of deep kind of relationships with their friends in a non-romantic way, but it can be very tense sometimes. But with the actual queer platonic relationship, it would be deeper for them than just their friendships, and their friendships mean a lot to them, right? So, for example, with some aromantic asexuals, they have boundaries where they will not cuddle their aromantic friends. They will not want much touching with them. And they won't be sharing a bed with them. But for an aromantic asexual that got into a queer platonic relationship, they would be more intimate with that person. So they may cuddle that person, share a bed with them, and have a deeper connection even more and spend more time with that person than their other friends, for example, because they're in a relationship with them. So, it would be a deeper connection and deeper amount of intimacy, whatever their intimacy level is. But it would be probably not romantic in nature, right? So it's very, very interesting. I personally am a romantic asexual. I like romance. I need romance in a relationship. It's very important for me. I like even cute little stickers that say I love you on it and stuff like that, right? All the kisses and the love hearts and all that type of stuff. I like the romance to be kept alive because I like doing that with myself even. I like going on self dates. I like self-loving. I like being like in love with myself and just being cute and cuddly with myself and feeling so much love. Lucia, I'm aromantic and you explained that so well. Thank you. Oh, Lucia, I'm so glad I explained that well. I'm really glad, Lucia. Thank you so much for being here. That's very important because obviously I'm not aromantic. I'm a hyper-romantic, so I'm the opposite, really. But I do know aromantic asexuals. And I used to have a friend I used to know that person quite well who explained what an aromantic relationship would look like ideally to them, right? And so I just was like, I was just like kind of like understanding how aromantic relationships work. I've done a video about it before as well, like struggles of aromantics and stuff like that. So I'm so glad you're here and I understand you, even though I'm not aromantic myself. I like to understand all the asexuals across the spectrum. It's very important to me, which is why I wrote this book, to celebrate our diversity across the asexual spectrum and our differences within it. So that's why I did it in the first place, right? So thank you for that. I appreciate that. Very encouraging. So yeah, so we're going to move on now. If you do have a copy of the book, to page 415, printed edition. Right, so this is Claire Evelyn's story, and I asked Claire about what type of relationship they would be interested in. If they are not in a relationship, would it be queer, would it be a platonic relationship, or would it be with a sexual person, asexual, what would it look like, romantic or not? So I would like to be in a relationship. I miss that strong human interaction and intimacy that comes with that relationship, regardless of sex. It would be a connection of minds rather than bodies. I wouldn't mind a relationship with a sexual person, but it will take a lot of compromise. So I just want to touch on that a minute as well. So for me personally, I like a connection of the mind and of the soul and of the heart. So for me, I'm not interested in the guy's body from the waist down. I'm really not interested in genitalia, right? It doesn't do anything for me. It's not how I love a person, right? But for me, the ultimate ideal relationship would be where I was so emotionally connected to that person consistently and persistently in a really healthy, happy, oh my God, this is such a spiritual connection we've got way, right? So I'm more spiritual than religious. And for me, emotional connection and a spiritual connection kind of like intertwine, are kind of very similar. So I like a soulmate connection. Someone mentioned soulmate further back in the book, right? And for me, a soulmate's like a spiritual connection. It's like you're connected to that person even when you're apart. It's like you belong together even if you're not together in person. And, for the emotional connection side of it, it's like you kind of can anticipate and understand what the other person's going to do next because you understand their behavior, you understand their thoughts and feelings and emotions, and you understand them on a fundamental, really deep, powerful level. And, and you feel them in your heart. You can literally look in front of you and you can feel their heart. It's like you're in their heart. It's like they don't have any bridges up, they don't have any barriers up. You can literally feel their heart and see them. That to me is proper soulmate love, proper emotional connection, and proper deep heartfelt emotion and connection, like in the heart, mind and soul. That for me is what it's all about, right? I haven't met that person yet that has that, who wants it with me to maintain and sustain it persistently, consistently throughout a loving, healthy, happy relationship, right? And so until I meet that person, I stay single, right? But it does exist, that type of love. I know it does. And when you get that type of connection with someone, it can be literally explosive and it can be amazing if it's harnessed in the right way, right? Because if you have that deep understanding, it's like someone's emotionally taking care of you, if they are. And like I said, just be aware, if you've got mental health difficulties or anything like that, people are not going to use emotional manipulation on you. So you want someone who's healthy emotionally and who can have a deep emotional connection with you in a healthy way, in a loving way, in a happy way, not someone who uses your emotions against you. This is why it's very difficult to, and kind of easy in some ways to slip into an emotionally abusive relationship, because if you pull your heart out, if you have an emotional connection and they're not actually a healthy, loving person, they can be a toxic person, they can use that to their advantage. And once they understand your emotions and how they work, they can start twisting them or start abusing them, start neglecting you. And this is why it can get quite difficult. But it's hard because you need to open up your heart. You need to open up to the person and in order to experience love. And so you have to understand that when you do that, you just have to be very cautious how you're doing that, when you're doing that, how it's shown up to the other person, and how that person's treating you and responding to you, right? Because you do not want an emotionally abusive person. You want a person who's emotionally healthy, in the sense that they respect that emotional connection with you. They love it. They harness it. It's empowering for both of you. And it's magnificent. And it's like very, very special and treasured and cherished. Not something that people use and think, oh, I've got her now, or I've got him now. You don't want a person like that, right? What you want is a person who think, my God, I've got this deep emotional connection like no other. I can talk to this person. I can be myself with this person. I can open up to this person. They're going to hold my heart in their hands and they're going to cherish it forever. And they're going to protect it and care for it and love it because they love me, right? This is the type of person you need. So be very, very, very careful as well as being, you know, yourself. So it's very, very important. But yeah, always think about what type of relationship you want before you get into a relationship. Always think, if a person showed up in your life now, what would your ideal partner look like? I've always said, be ready for when the person shows up in your life before they actually do. You need to prepare for them as if they're already in it. And you need to know exactly what you want, because if you don't know what you want, you're going to get rubbish come through. I've recently realised that I keep attracting emotionally unavailable guys who are non-committal. And I'm starting now to begin to realise and see the signs of these type of guys. For example, I can see, like, I've got 2 Indian guy friends. You know, I had a person who I thought was my soulmate who clearly isn't. I got that wrong. But there's 2 guys who are Indian friends, and they are both also emotionally unavailable, non-committal types, in my opinion, from what I know of them, you know. And so I know either of those guys, they might be fine as friends, but they are not going to be able to be good for me to be in a relationship with, because they can't give me the relationship I want. They're not emotionally open to that, right? And so that's not good, right? And the non-committal, they'd rather be single and live the lad life, right? I love being single myself, don't get me wrong, but I also look for an ideal relationship as well at the same time. So, right, and also, you know, I think in this point as well with Claire's story, you know, a lot of asexuals, they do want still the human interaction, intimacy. You know, in terms of relationship, it offers companionship, offers camaraderie, offers, you know, intelligent stimulation. If you get a person who's intelligent, it offers, you know, like companionship and loyalty and kind of like, you know, kind of like just the coziness and security. It should offer security. And, you know, to think, oh my gosh, this is an adventure. We're going to go on together for our lives. We're going to love each other and be a sustainable, happy unit together. And we're going to work and develop and grow ourselves. And we're going to do this in the future together. We're going to do that. And we're going to make plans together. And it should be a happy, really beautiful thing, being in a relationship, you know. If it's not, then get out of it and run. Because, you know, no one should be making you unhappy, right? They should love you and be working on themselves. You know, if they're not working on themselves, if they don't think they've got any issues and it's all, everything's your fault, they're not bothering with you and making the time, energy and effort anymore, they're not worth your time, you know. You know, people are only worth your time if they're making time for you, right? Don't put more energy, time and effort into that what they're doing. A person who's interested, you should be asking questions about yourself and offering information about themselves as well. They should be doing this persistently and consistently. If you find that you're just asking them questions all the time, in the end, really, it's you doing all the work. You don't want to be with a person like that, right? It's going to get boring for you. It's like you're going to devalue your own worth because you're not going to feel worthy, because you'll be like, a person's not even really interested in me. They're just interested in me asking them questions about myself. Where's my value to them? Where's my respect? Where's the fact of, oh, that person's fascinating, I want to know more about her. You know, if they've lost that spark and they're not even interested in what you have to say, and they're not even asking you any questions about yourself, and it's all about them, or they're not even doing much or progressing the relationship, they're no good. You don't want someone like that, right? You want someone who's energetic, who's vibrant, trying to, you know, make a good relationship with you, make a good future with you, someone who's getting off their backside and doing something with their life, right? Not sat watching TV at home all day. Someone who's actively going out and trying to get a good career, trying to do courses and develop and grow themselves, trying to be a better person, you know, and someone who's actually serious about wanting a relationship as much as you are. That's very important. There's a lot of people out there that think about a relationship, but they don't actually want to be in one. Lucia, that's so true. It should never just be one-sided. Exactly, Lucia. It shouldn't just be one-sided. And there, it's like, even with the 2 Indian guys, you know, that's been kind of one-sided a lot recently, you know, the Indian friends I have. And so it's kind of like, right, well, I really need to not bother talking to them that much anymore, you know, until they can be bothered to message me. because it's like, you know, I don't want to be doing all the work. It's just ridiculous. But it means like, fine, I can get on with my own projects, my own life, do things in my own time, and just, you know, like not bother. You know, I don't want to be the one like going after, because I'm like, you know, like I'm very strong as a female. I do have male traits, and you know, I'm very like kind of take an action taking go. It's like, I want something, I go and get it, right? I see something, I go and get it. I'll do something, I go and get it, right? If I want to talk to someone, I'll message them, right? But it's like when you're doing all the work all the time and no one even asks you how you are, no one even pops in your inbox to see you, and no one even bothers with you, you know, don't bother with them. If you're always the one asking all the questions all the time and you're never taking time to understand the other person, they're not taking the time to understand you, if you're the one that's always doing the chasing, then, you know, like, move on, isn't it? Like, you know, a person should still want you. If they want you in their life, they should be acting like it, behaving like it, you know? So, you know, it's very important that you look out for this type of stuff. Because, you know, a friendship is very important as well, just like a relationship is, right? Right, so this is Waywalker's story, right? This is quite a long story part. This is on page 424 if you've got the Asexual Perspectives book. Right, so Waywalker's story. If you are not in a relationship, would you like to be in one? And if so, why? And what type of relationship? Romantic, platonic? What would your ideal relationship look like? And would it be with a sexual person? If not, why? So this is Waywalker's part of their story, right? So maybe a relationship would be good. I don't particularly have a drive to be paired up. It would be nice, but it isn't necessary at all. If I was to seek one out, it would be platonic, based on mutual interests and things we enjoy doing together. Exploring the common roots of world faith traditions, studying world cultures to see what the oldest stories say, doing ancestral type skill building, that sort of thing. No sports at all unless you count archery and such. Going to punk shows and playing video games. So I'm going to carry on with their story in a minute. But this person doesn't have any interest in sex. They identify as demi-romantic, by the way, so on the aromantic spectrum, and they're sex repulsed, agender, and asexual, just for your background information. So they said, I will never get into a relationship with a sexual person again. I was married 3 times, all were sexuals. That type of mixed relationship can work, or so I've been told. But in my experience, it only injures both parties and is massively unfair to both parties. In my case, allowing sex basically had the exact same effect as if I had been raped, but topped with the massive guilt of knowing. I let this violation happen to me. I know what the effects of rape are, as I have been on the receiving end of corrective rape 34 times, and also the regular no real motivator but the assertion of animal dominance rape twice. So I know what I'm saying here. Conversely, my ex-husbands felt I denied them their marital rights when I chose not to do that. And the last boyfriend I had actually broke up with me because I was honest with him about not wanting sex anymore. I suspect that he cheated on me the last several months of the relationship, but he had the good taste to be less than obvious about it. He pretended to care about my heart, and up until that last moment told me we had a future together and that my nature was wonderful and acceptable and we could make it. The breakup was unexpected and hurt more than the previous divorces, mostly because of the lies. So, you know, that's kind of a hard story to take, isn't it? You know? But unfortunately, with asexuals, it does happen in terms of corrective rape. It's like the magic dick theory that someone mentions in this book. It's like, I've got this great dick, and as soon as you have it in you, you will automatically not be asexual anymore and love sex and think it's wonderful. It's like, it doesn't work like that, right? If you're sex repulsed asexual, you're not going to change that just because someone does that. In fact, you're going to be more repulsed by it, more put off by it, and feeling sick and want to throw up, right? And it's just really horrible. And there are some asexuals that do consent to sex. There's some asexuals that consent to sex that are sex positive, sex neutral, and they're fine. But there's some asexuals that consent to sex out of a feeling of obligation that they've got to do that because of the type of relationship they're in with a sexual person, out of pressure, out of being coerced into it. Like, if you love me, you'll have sex with me, out of like, you know, like a sense of duty. And they can actually say, yeah, I'll do it, and not really want it. And sometimes it's to keep the relationship, right? To keep it happy, to keep that relationship. But, you know, this is why it's important to get the right person for a relationship in the first place, if you can, or be single, because you don't want to be able to do stuff or have to do stuff that you think you need to do in order to keep a relationship. That's not a healthy relationship, right? What you should be doing is finding someone that's highly compatible with you in the first place, that's got the very similar and the same likes, needs, wants, and desires, and who would treat you with respect, kind, and caringness, and want to be in your life, want to show up for your life, want to make time for you, want to be with you, right? And you should be under no illusion about that, right? If you've got a person who's doing anything out of obligation, which you doing stuff out of obligation, or them doing stuff out of obligation, that's not love. That's just, I don't even know what the hell that is, you know? It's like, it's just some crazy, stupid game or something in the game of life. It's just, I don't know why people do stuff out of obligation. But obviously, if you're married and you're in asexual marriage, you might feel obliged to give them sex because that's what they expect and that's what they want, and to keep the relationship. It's better to walk away from a relationship that's like that, right? It can't end well. It can only end in pain. Right, so, you know, you don't want to be getting with someone obliged to do something, or feeling you have to oblige to do something with someone. You want to get into a relationship with someone who you love doing things for, who you love doing things with, who you like doing the same sort of things with and for, and who make you happy, right? That's what you need. It's very important, because relationships are a huge part of people's lives, right? But just because you're asexual, don't think you can't have a relationship or you're going to be alone forever, because that type of thinking stops you from getting into a relationship, right? You need to be open to a relationship, not just saying, oh, I'm an asexual person, I can't get a relationship because no one will want me, right? Because that's not true, right? There's a lot of people out there that do value a relationship, that do value love, that do want someone in their life. You just have to find one of those people that's as serious about relationship as you are, wants to make it work, and who wants to change themselves into the best version of themselves for themselves and to be in a relationship with you, right? It's very important. So yes. So shall I read what I'm looking for in a relationship? You probably already know this already. But yes. I wasn't going to read mine, but I'm going to read mine. Where, if I can find it. If I can find it, if I put it in here. I'm sure I put it in here. Right. I can just tell you because I know what it is anyway. Oh, dearie me. I think, where have I put it in here? I wasn't going to read it out. But yes. Anyway, for me, I think I've already told you. Oh, here we go. This is my personal story at the back of the book. Page 499, people. This is a big book, right? So, I'll read it out to you. So, if you're not in a relationship, which I am not, would you like to be in one? And if so, why? And what type of relationship? Romantic, platonic, and what would your ideal relationship look like? Oh, would you be in a relationship with a sexual person or not? Right, so this is my own story from the back of the book. This is a long answer. This is like goes on for pages, so I don't know if I should tell you the whole thing or just part of it. Right, because it goes on for pages and pages. So right, anyway, I'll give you the first bit. Right, okay, so this is the first paragraph. I would only ever want to be in a relationship with an asexual romantic guy, never a sexual guy. Because in my experience, they all need sex as part of a relationship to be completely happy and fulfilled. And they cannot fulfill my need of lots of kissing without sex. So we are not compatible. I think it is counterproductive to start a relationship with problems like this and trying to make it work. The world is huge and asexuals are thousands in numbers. 1% of the population is still huge. Why limit yourself to being with someone who you're not compatible with from the offset in this way? Having said that, my heart does go out to each and every asexual that struggles to find a compatible match. I understand this better than a lot of people with my hyper-romanticism and multiple attractions that are not reciprocated. But as a friend once said to me, finding my soulmate is not meant to be easy, but it will be rewarding when I find them. I have known since 10 that I have a soulmate. I did not know he is foreign or Indian until after I discovered I am asexual. So yes, if you followed me on this channel for over 5.5 years now, you will know that I've always thought I have an Indian asexual soulmate. And this is born from intuition. I've never had an Indian boyfriend. I've had other foreign boyfriends. I've had a boyfriend from Afghanistan, for example, in the past. I've had a Latino boyfriend. I've had Bangladesh boyfriends. I've had, Persian boyfriend in the past. So I've had like different foreign boyfriends, but I've never actually had an Indian boyfriend. I have now kissed Indian guy in a club, which is really nice and very interesting for me. And I do like other foreign guys as well, but I've decided now I really need to just be with an Indian guy because I always believe I have an Indian soulmate out there somewhere, and I kind of don't think I'd be happy being with anyone else because I always feel like I'm doing an injustice to him because it's really him I need to be with. And so I've been looking for this guy since 2014 for over 7 years now. And this year I thought I'd found this guy. All my feelings that I'd had for 7 years kind of went for this guy, but I didn't find him. I was wrong. I made a mistake. This person's not the right person for me to be in a relationship with. And so, that was kind of a bit of a blow. It was a bit disappointing, but it means my real asexual Indian soulmate's out there somewhere, right? But it also means kind of all those feelings went to him, and I can just make peace with that now. I don't have to relentlessly look for this guy anymore. I don't have to go on that path anymore. For me, my path has changed now. For me, I'm focusing on myself and my self-love journey more. I'm focusing on my career more. There's lots of stuff I want to do in my life to fulfill my life purpose more. And so for me, it's been disappointing. It's been really hard. I'm still healing from that experience. But I'm glad I met that person. I'm glad that's kind of put an end to the 7 years of looking for a person. But I do still see myself in the future with an Indian asexual guy. I feel him. I still think he's there. But for me personally, I need to go off on my own now and live my own asexual, single, freedom life for some time. And so, I think it's important to look after your own health and love yourself in the meantime before you find someone for a relationship. I believe that everyone has a special someone out there. But, in order to make a relationship work, you've really got to have another person who wants a relationship as badly as you do, who sees the value in you, who appreciates you for who you are, and who really wants to make something work, right? You can't be with someone who's the opposite of that because it just won't work. So for me personally, like I said, I still think I've got an Indian asexual soulmate out there somewhere. I can't see me being in a relationship long term with a sexual person because for me, I just don't think that would work because I have sexual behaviour despite not experiencing sexual attraction. I just think that would drive a sexual guy absolutely crazy. My ideal relationship would be being able to kiss younger Indian guy in a relationship, kiss him for hours probably because I like kissing for up to 3 hours, and for him to love that as much as I do, and for him to really like physical affection like that like I do, and for us to kiss for long periods of time, never get bored with each other, really find it exciting, intensely heartwarming, and really love that time together, and no, it will never lead to sex. For me, that would be bliss to know I could kiss a guy deeply in the tongue kissing, French kissing way, and it never lead to sex, you know, because the problem with sexuals is when you do that, it's always usually a prequel to sex. And, you know, I don't want sex. I'm not interested in sex. It's boring to me. I've had it in the past. If I did that again, I just get bored very quickly. It's not something I intend to do ever again in my life. And I would just love the kissing so much. And obviously I want an intelligent guy, someone who I can talk about the world, planet and universe with and just have fun together as a great asexual couple. You know, I just really, you know, would like that in the future with the right guy, you know. So when you've had a disappointment, when you found someone who you thought was right for you who wasn't, you have to take time out to heal properly. You have to take time out to self-love, get your lone life back on track, and, you know, just move forward to your own passions and hobbies and dreams, you know, and ambitions. It's very important, you know. But if you believe in true love, if you want to find your soulmate, don't give up, right? Because if you give up, then you'll never actually get what you want in life. The person who doesn't succeed is the one who gives up on their dreams. The person who doesn't succeed is say, hey, it's not for me. It's not happening right now. I'll never get it, right? This is someone who's negative, who lives in fear and is not even prepared to push through fears. Like I said, I have anxiety and I'm still willing to push through my fears. I'm still willing to push through my boundaries. I'm still willing to break through my barriers in order to achieve my dreams, and I will relentlessly not stop at that. But I am now pursuing my other dreams, not the romantic dreams. I'm not in hot pursuit of that anymore, but I'm still open to it. But I'm relentlessly going to pursue my actual life purpose dreams, you know. So I'm going to keep doing this channel, helping asexuals. Obviously got my Asexual Guide to Sex book that I've got to finish still. For those asexuals who want to give it a go, who are interested in it, who are curious to know what it's like to have sex if you're asexual, and all those rest in between, right? It's not a book that says asexuals should have sex. Please don't think that. Many asexuals don't want sex ever, and that is perfectly fine, and it's good and it's valid. And if you don't want sex, you never should have it, because it's good if you can keep your virginity for yourself, isn't it? Right? And like I said, I'm sex repulsed these days. But the book came out of the fact that I had an aromantic asexual friend message me saying, hey, Sandra, if I wanted to try sex, what would I do? And I'm like, really? And the asexual wants to know that. And so that's how the book was born. That was the idea. I found out there's quite a lot of asexuals that want help. And I have a lot of experience in that department in my past. So it's good. You know, 2 years I've been working on a book, over 2 years now. But it's time to finish that. But I've got a lot going on at the moment, in the next week particularly, so it's kind of like, you know, I'll probably resume it more next week. But, you know, life is beautiful, people, and just because you're asexual doesn't mean to say you don't want a relationship. And some aromantic asexuals do want a queer platonic relationship. There's a very big stereotype that no aromantics ever want a relationship, that they're not romantic and they're not sexual, and therefore they don't want a relationship, because most people associate a relationship with sex, romance, both usually. But you can have a relationship without sex, without romance, and still with a ton of love. And you can have a romantic relationship with a lot of tons of love as well, without it being sexual, you know. Like, love is defined by you and the person in it. Your relationship is defined by you and the person in it. It's not defined by the outside world. It's not defined by someone else who comes along and decides to try and tell you how to live your life in your relationship, right? The relationship is defined by the two people that's in it, right? Not your friends, not your family, not your peers. It's defined by the two people in it, or more if you're polyamorous, right? So you define your relationship. You define what it looks like. Part of the excitement is defining a relationship together, right? What's it going to look like? How are we going to live our lives on a day-to-day basis? How excited are we going to be to grow together? What are we going to do for our future plans together? How are we going to like make this work? How's it going to be so beautiful? How can we plan this to happen? You know, all this time, love should be a relationship should be an adventure of bringing people together, not tearing each other apart, right? So you want to find someone like that who wants to actually make something work and have a good teamwork like that, right? Teamwork makes the dream work, right? So, you know, don't think you can't get a relationship. Like, a lot of the time, asexuals will have to either move or find someone to move to them for a relationship. Like, my best asexual friend, if you didn't already know, is in a relationship, a romantic relationship with their romantic asexual non-binary partner. They're non-binary, they're romantic, and so is their partner, both asexual. And they've moved to live round, well, I say round the corner, they've moved to live nearer them. I think it's about 35-40 minutes, maybe less than that. I think it's about 35-40 minutes, something like that. So they're not directly near them, but they're a lot closer to them, and they can see each other each day. And, you know, it's just much better for them, you know. And they've been together 9 months now, and, you know, so it can happen, but it's because they both want that relationship. They both think they're soulmates. They both love being together, right? And so in order for a relationship to work, both people have to put in the time, energy, effort. Both people have to maintain and sustain the relationship. Lucia, people always assume because I'm aromantic, I'm not capable of loving someone, but I do love people platonically. I love my family and I love my friends. Yeah, Lucia, it's really, really important that people understand that, you know, because, you know, love takes lots of different forms, you know. And I mean, I'm not aromantic, but I do love my friends. I didn't used to think about loving friends, but I do love my friends in a friendship way. For me personally, because I'm hyper romantic, I have attractions for my friends as well, which is really annoying because I don't want to. So, you know, different types for different ones, but that, which isn't platonic, but and I don't experience platonic attraction either, which is another strange thing. That's why I have you know, like, attractions for them. But in terms of, I can love them still as friends without it being any other type of love. So that's kind of good these days. But yeah, so Lucia, are you an asexual that would actually like a clear platonic relationship as well? Are you happy being single? Because I've met aromantic asexuals that love being single. They wouldn't want to be in a relationship. They just like having lots of friends or close friends, and, like you say, loving their family and friends platonically, and they don't want a relationship. Yeah, you would love a QPR. Oh, bless you. I think that's really important because there's so many stereotypes. And I come across it all the time. I'm aromantic, so I never want a relationship. And it's like, well, that's fine for you, and I really respect you for that. But it comes across as every aromantic asexual never wants a relationship. And, you know, it's very damaging to the aromantic asexuals that do want a relationship, because it kind of makes it feel like the whole of the aromantic people don't ever want a relationship. And, you know, it's kind of like not true, you know. There's one aromantic asexual that I know, and they're actually in a relationship with a sexual person, or I think their partner now identifies as demisexual, whereas their partner before, I think, identified as sexual or heterosexual before. But I think they found out their partner's demisexual after all these years. But yeah, but so they do have sex, and they're aromantic asexual. They've been married for over 20 years to their sexual partner. So, you know, I don't know if I think their partner's romantic as well. I'm not sure. But yeah, so, you know, sometimes aromantic asexuals can still be in a relationship with a sexual person or with a romantic person. You know, for me personally, because I'm hyper romantic, I think an aromantic person may not work for me. But unless they were a coupure romantic, someone who really strongly desired a romantic relationship despite not experiencing romantic attraction, that might be a possibility. And obviously a demi-romantic would work if they're the type of demi-romantic who does experience really strong romantic attraction once a deep emotional bond has been formed, you know, then that would work well, because demi-romantics tend to be very just one person at a time type people, from my experience of them so far. So that I kind of like that dedication, like the fact they just connected to me, that type of thing, and just like kind of pursuing me at that time is really nice. I even say that in my book, I could be with a heteromantic or demi-romantic guy. So, you know, I think it's really important to just, you know, love yourself for who you are and look for a compatible life partner. But do understand that most asexuals will either have to move for a relationship or have someone move to them, right? Most asexuals are not going to find the ideal asexual person in the same city or town as them. It's just not going to happen, right? You know, so I'm not saying it's never going to happen. It does happen a few times with some people, but the majority of the time it's not going to happen, right? Because I have asexuals who live nearer me, right? There's an asexual guy who I meet up with sometimes. He's a lot older than me. He's attracted to younger girls. I'm attracted to younger guys, right? So I couldn't be in a relationship with an older guy like that. It would just not work because I don't feel that way with older guys. But he's nice to talk to and hang out with sometimes, like occasionally like have food together, and he comes to all my meetups usually, and so that's really, really nice. Hello if you're watching. And so I can meet other guys. There's a guy who actually lives in my city, but me and him just don't get on really in terms of we're very different in personalities. And it's really like we're very opposite of each other, and so we don't really see each other anymore. But they're not the age I was usually go for, and they're not foreign either. So but like he lives in Exeter, right, which is where I live in the UK. And there's another person. God, I'm getting stuff in my eye now. Oh my god. There's you can tell this is live, can't you? There's another person who lives not too far away, but again, we're not compatible for a relationship, right? So just because you have asexuals near you or asexual friends doesn't actually mean to say they're compatible for a relationship, right? I have asexual friends, but none of them are compatible for a relationship with me, right? And so, it's, you really are going to usually either have to move or find a mover. And, some people aren't prepared to do that, and they'd rather either get into a relationship with a sexual person or be single. But some of those people are lonely, and they're like, if only I could find a suitable asexual for a relationship. And it's like, well, you probably could if you looked further afield and actually decided to get out of your comfort zone. So sometimes it takes getting out of your comfort zone to find the love of your life. It takes pushing through fears and boundaries to get where you want to go. Like someone said to me in my answer, someone said to me, a friend once said to me, like getting your soulmate's not meant to be easy, right? Because the things we really want in life usually are the things that are the hardest to get, the things we have to fight for, the things that we have to really challenge ourselves on. Right, to live the life that I want in the future, I have to upgrade myself. I need some new skills. I need some new thinking. I need some new attitudes. I need some new beliefs. Right, so that's why I'm doing the NLP course. That's why I'm probably do some other courses or stuff, right? But I'm doing the neuro-linguistic programming course because I learned something about that years ago in my coaching academy course, life coaching course. And it worked effectively, and I need to sit there and listen to that and go through all the course, right? It's not going to be easy, some of that stuff I'm going to learn, because it's going to mess with my ideology currently, and I might take some of it on board, or I might still disagree with some of it, right? But it's going to be extra skills and extra knowledge. It's going to be good for me. And I'm going to be having a podcast coming out this November, which is going to be for the entrepreneur market. So if you didn't already know, sometimes I'm known as the asexual entrepreneur. So I have a lot of entrepreneur friends. I learn about affiliate marketing, social media marketing, all that type of thing. And so I'm going to be interviewing entrepreneurs who make millions and even billions of pounds online on that new podcast in November, right? So that's something that I'll be doing after I've finished the Asexual Guide sex book, published it and done some publicity for it for a few months. So Asexual book comes first, and so but then by November I should be in a position where I can literally run with that other brand as well. So I'll be maintaining everything I do for Asexuals plus developing that other brand. I know some of you might follow me on that new channel as well. It's actually already live, but I haven't got that type of content on it yet where I'm interviewing people. A lot of the stuff is my Make Money, Make Cash channel, but at the moment I'm just doing videos about eBay and places like that to sell online, so it's kind of like vlog type of stuff, right? But when I get to do the change the format of it in November, it's going to be like interviewing entrepreneurs that really succeed in business and online, particularly at making money. So it's going to be very challenging. That I'm going to have to work to a schedule. Going to be a very polished show rather than a vlog style most of the time like this one. But I love speaking to asexuals. I mean, this to me is like the love of my life, coming on and doing a live stream and being here with you it just feels so wonderful. It feels like exactly where I'm meant to be all the time, really, other than writing. I just feel like at peace with my soul when I'm talking to you. I feel so connected to the asexuals on this channel. I've missed it because obviously I was off from live streaming for a few months because of YouTube deciding to delete 3 of my channels and not let me have access back by desktop and stuff. So thank God they listened to me and finally got my 3rd channel reinstated, which meant I could live stream on here again, because, you know, I like doing a live stream show. No other channel does an ongoing live stream chat show like this, right? They don't do it. It's new for asexuals. It's different. It's exciting. It's where you can talk to an asexual in person live and ask me what the hell you want, right? And I can, you know, help you as best I can in this moment. Like, there's a lot of asexuals, like I've said before, who churn out a lot of textbook definitions of asexuality, but they don't really talk about how it is in real life terms, day-to-day basis, how it goes on, you know. And I talk a lot about dating relationships specifically on this channel because I have a lot of experience with that, right? But it's very important to know that you are valid, whatever type of asexual you are, wherever you fall on the asexual spectrum. It's very important to know that just because you're a certain type of asexual, another person might be the same type of asexual as you. In theory, you could still be very different, right? I was talking about grey asexuals, for example, the other day. And for a grey asexual, there's kind of 2 different main types of grey asexuals, although there's lots in between, right? One is one that experiences sexual attraction, but not enough to want to act on it. And the other one is someone who experiences sexual attraction, but only under limited, rare, specific circumstances. So the one that doesn't act on it, they won't want sex because they don't want to act on that sexual attraction. But the grey asexuals that do experience it under limited, rare, specific circumstances, they might want sex, right? I came across 2 grey asexuals, I think it was last year, and both of them wanted to try sex and have it within a relationship. That to me was quite shocking because I was thinking, well, what's the difference between you and a sexual person then? I may as well just be with a sexual guy. And, you know, if I was interested in having sex, if I didn't mind doing that, it would open up a whole load of guys that I could potentially be in a relationship with. Tons of different guys, right? Loads more Indian guys for a start. But I just can't bring myself to do that again. If I ever did, it would be like very rarely, and I would get bored and I would just not be able to maintain and sustain it. I don't want to get pregnant because I can still have children naturally. And it's just too much hassle and pressure, and I really don't want that type of relationship. I want a relationship based on, like I said before, deepest ever soulmate connection, emotional connection, intelligence connection, you know, really that bestest ever friend, love of my life, soulmate connection, you know, a guy who wants to spend his time, energy and effort with me. And like, you know, like when you're kids and you've got a bestest friend. I mean, I have bestest friends now, 3 of them, right? Which I'm very blessed with, you know. So I've got my best asexual friend. We do actually message each other usually most days, sometimes several times a day, you know. But obviously with a romantic relationship, I'd want a guy messaging me every day, obviously, and keeping in contact and keeping that connection. For me, being connected to a loved one in a romantic relationship, I want connection with them every single day, and part of that is highly effective communication, right? I need a lot of communication in a relationship. So it's really important that you work out your needs before you get into a relationship and the type of person you want. You know, do you want someone who just messages you once a blue moon, once a week, twice a week, 3 times a week, or do you want someone who's highly communicating with you every single day? Because I've met some asexuals and they don't like much chatting. They don't like to be messaging loads. You know, they like to just, you know, be a hermit, which is understandable because some are introverted. But in order to have a proper relationship, in order to sustain it and maintain it, you really need someone who is good at communicating, because any relationship that isn't communicating properly is going to fail and it's not going to be a healthy relationship, right? You need to be able to always be communicating with that person, especially as asexuals usually would start long distance anyway. If you are going to start a long distance relationship, you need to be highly communicating with that person, right, in order to grow and develop with them, and in order to let them in your life, in order for them to feel connected and understand you, and, you know, get on a video call with them, get on an audio call with them, because sometimes in text things can be misconstrued, things can not seem how they really are. So for me personally, if I'm in a long distance relationship, I have never had an actual proper long distance relationship before, but I would need video chats and audio calls, particularly video chats, because you can see the person, then it's like being with them, and also you can talk a lot more effectively and see the person, spend quality time with them, and there's a lot less that can be misconstrued, I think, than in text messages sometimes. So effective communication skills are an absolute must in any relationship. Anyway, I'm going to love you and leave you for now. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you for all the thumbs up. If you haven't already thumbs this video up, I would really appreciate it, because it really helps raise awareness of asexuality, which is what I'm all about. Bringing asexuality to the forefront of society more and more. If you want to get a copy of Asexual Perspectives, I would obviously recommend it, because it is an excellent book. This is my personal copy, which is very worn. If you get a copy, this will be the new copy if you get a printed version. See, nice and pristine, not like this that I've used all the time, right? So, it's Asexual Perspectives. All you need to do is type it in Amazon, type it in Barnes & Noble, type it in Waterstones. Plus, you should be able to order it from any good bookshops, because this has its own ISBN. It's not an Amazon ISBN. I actually own my own publishing company called Quirky Books. And so therefore, you can just order it from any good bookshop. You should be able to go, even independent bookshops, right? Lucia, thank you for another great video, Sandra. Oh, thank you for being here, Lucia. Really nice name as well. And thank you so much to Eric and Ahmed as well. Lots of love to you. I really appreciate you all being here. Thank you so much for showing up. Thank you for spending time with me, because as I always say, your time is one of the most precious and valuable assets. It's one of the most precious things you can ever give to someone is the gift of time, because we can never ever get these minutes back of our life ever again. So I'm going to say I appreciate you. I love you for who you are. I think you're amazing, incredible. Always stay ace, beautifully ace. Never let anyone put you down for being asexual. Always know you deserve love, happiness, respect, appreciation, kindness, caringness, and all the love that you ever want and need. And I love you to bits. Thank you for being here with me and sharing your life and time with me. I appreciate you. Lots of love, Lucia and Eric and Ahmed. Thank you so much for everyone showing up. Lots of love. Take care. Embrace your inner ace and your quirky and each other's. Bye-bye. Bye. Lots of love.